What's the culture of your organization? Is it stressful and full of conflict? It may be easygoing and fun, or maybe it's strict and professional. Every organization, every group, whether it's a family or church or whatever, has a culture. The question is not whether you have one, but how does it develop? Do you just kind of let it happen, leave it to chance or people's personalities? Or as a leader, do you work to actively shape your group dynamic and culture? The healthiest leaders understand the importance of that culture, and they don't leave it to chance. And Dr. Mindy Hall is my guest today. She's going to help us become more intentional about our organization's culture here on the One Simple Thing podcast.
It's time to build a better business by building a better you. This is One Simple Thing.
Welcome to the show. Dave Kirby here. Welcome back as we continue talking to Dr. Mindy Hall. Fascinating conversation about leadership, and not just leaving our leadership up to chance or leading from reactionary, knee-jerk, or whatever else, but becoming intentional about how we lead, about how others perceive us as leaders, and also how we shape the culture around us as leaders. And that's specifically what we're going to be talking about today. Dr. Mindy Hall is president and CEO of Peak Development Consulting. She runs her own podcast called Peak Development Radio. She also is a columnist for Entrepreneur Magazine, and she is author of the book Leading with Intention. Every moment is a choice. That's what we're talking about today and over the last 3 episodes. Dr. Mindy Hall, again, welcome back, and thank you for being here on the One Simple Thing podcast.
Dave, thank you for the opportunity.
We are talking over the last few episodes, and today again about leading with intentionality. In fact, your book is called Leading with Intention. It's one of those things that maybe a lot of us overlook, right? We're a leader, and we think that means we have to make sure everybody gets everything done, right? But leadership goes way deeper than that, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does.
Do you find that, I'm sorry, but do you find that we all kind of have a different definition for what leadership means?
I think we do. And I think that actually is okay, because I don't think leader is synonymous with position. I think leader is more synonymous with behavior. So I've met, administrative assistants who I would consider great leaders. And I think sometimes that we miss the opportunity to engage people all through an organization simply because we've associated leader with position.
Well, as a leader, one of our chief obligations, responsibilities is to create a culture, right, within the organization or group that we're leading. And we talked on the show last time about the fact that people are going to form opinions and stories about you, so you better be intentional about managing and kind of creating the stories that they tell. Same thing goes with culture within our company organization too, right? There's going to be a culture one way or the other.
That's right. So culture will be shaped by design or by default. There's never a neutrality with culture. It will get formed. The only decision that an organization needs to make is, am I going to shape that intentionally? Same as I started with around leadership. Your life will get designed by, or will get formed by design or default. And your decision becomes, am I going to do that intentionally? Same with culture. And the number one way culture gets shaped in an organization is by what leaders model. And so if you think about that, you think about, culture as the social energy inside of an organization that either moves people to act or impedes them from acting. And you think about what gets left on the table when you're not intentionally deciding how to show up. It is amazing to me that if you could basically dial back and think about, organizations every day in so many ways are touched by leaders. And an organization's behavior ripples out from the individuals that lead that organization and shapes the company's identity. And one of the things that I'm so surprised about is that leaders don't take seriously how their behaviors actually set a ball in motion for what the culture will become. It is the number one way that culture gets shaped. And if you think about if you think about the fact that costs nothing. It costs nothing to actually show up in the way that you want the culture to be. And it absolutely is a way that engages the organization at a deep level. And so I think all the time when I think about culture, I get very passionate about the fact that people are in big positions. They have, to me, leadership is permission to, it's an obligation. And it's also permission. It's permission to do a lot of great things, but it's an obligation to do those well. And if you think about the number of people that you impact, it is amazing to me that leaders don't take more seriously how their behavior, what they're modeling, is what's getting played out in the organization in terms of its behavior.
Can you give us an example or two of a kind of behaviors that leaders might model that have a kind of a negative impact on the organizational culture?
Sure. I think that sometimes we have leaders who come into rooms a little bit like I talked about in a previous episode, kind of blustery, right? They come in, they have an angry tone about them. And what do you think that does to the room, right? The room goes quiet. People get more timid. People are unsure about how much to speak up. And right there, you can see potential that gets left on the table, right? Simply because of the tone that got set in the room. On the positive side, there's a story in the book in terms of, how anybody can absolutely shape culture, not just leaders in positions. And remember, I said that leaders, in my opinion, are not synonymous with position, but more synonymous with behavior. This is in the book, and I'll do the shorthand version for you, Dave. I was in the Philadelphia airport after Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and I was on my way to Toronto for a business meeting. And I was standing in a long line, waiting to go through security. And it was dreary, it was dark, it was raining, and people were looking not all that happy. And there was a woman, ticket agent, who said, "Hello, travelers. My name is Miss Roslyn, and I'm happy to have you here. I like to know that I play a part in getting you to where you want to go. So welcome and glad to have you here." She said, "I'm looking out there, though, and I don't see, very many happy faces. Come on, folks. You just had a holiday. You were with family. Let me see some smiles." So this is the Philadelphia airport. And people were, at best, tried to make her not feel stupid for saying that, but nobody was really moved by her comments. And then she noticed a serviceman in the back of the line, and she said, "Young man, are you serving our country?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." And she said, "Active duty?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am, just home on leave." And she said, "Then you come with me." And she took his wife and escorted them to the front of the line. And as she was escorting them to the front of the line, she said, "So listen, people, these two deserve our thanks. They have been, they're serving our country. They're making sacrifices. Let's show them some love. Let's thank them for their contribution." And again, I thought she was going to get the same reaction that she had gotten before. And what happened was unbelievable. People basically spontaneously started to applaud. And as she escorted this young couple to the front of the line, nobody grumbled. Nobody, "Hey, don't take them to the front of the line." People were patting them on the back. People were applauding. And it just was so clear to me in that moment that here was this woman, Miss Roslyn, a ticket, a line agent, a security line agent, basically making a decision about how she was going to show up to affect the culture of that line. And, what came through in vivid color for me is that we all have the opportunity to do that. We all have the opportunity to model behavior that we want to see in the world. And for that moment, and, for that time, Miss Roslyn was the leader of that security line. And she had engaged us all in a culture of appreciation simply by how she decided to behave.
Could you maybe just help us put this into practice today? How would you recommend we get started evaluating the behavior that we're modeling for others?
So people listen much more to what you do than what you say. So the thing that I would say, the one simple thing that I would say to your listeners is make sure your words match your actions. If you say you want to be more present, be more present. If you say you want to not have your phone in a meeting, don't have your phone in a meeting. It sounds simple, but it has huge impact. So be aware of the behavior you're modeling. Be aware that you set the tone in a room. Be aware that you set balls in motion simply by how you decide to show up. Let's say you had a bad day and you come home and you're grumbly with your family. Decide not to be grumbly with your family. It sets a different ball in motion. And so I would just say, we started in the first episode saying, what are the words you want to live by? Go back to those words and say, is my behavior matching those words?
You know, you mentioned family, and I'm thinking about how a lot of times our kids, they'll call us when we're not consistent, right? Like we'll set a rule, and then maybe a few weeks in the future we'll break our own rule, and they'll be like, "Hey, Dad, what did you said?" But our employees aren't necessarily going to do that, right? But they still notice.
Right.
When our behavior doesn't match our words, they might not call us out like our kids do, but they're noticing and they're taking note of that.
People listen far more to what you do than what you say. So they're watching your behavior and they're taking their lead from that behavior.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom. I'm going to tell everybody about how they can get your book. Also, we'll give people access to your website as well. Mindy, you told me you also are, right now you're in a podcast studio there in your office. Do you also have a podcast?
I do.
What's it called?
Peak Development Radio.
We'll put a link to your podcast on the show notes as well and encourage people to go there as well. So,
thank you.
Mindy,
Dave,
thank you.
It was a pleasure. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely. Me too. And hopefully we could do it again sometime.
Yep. Appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, before I tell you how to get Mindy's book, I just want you to think about that line again that she said a few minutes ago. She said, make sure your words match your actions. I think if you could boil down everything that we've learned over the last several episodes about intentional leadership into one sentence, that would be it. Make sure your words match your actions. Be consistent. If you tell people you're going to behave in a certain way, if you want to shape a certain culture or whatever else, make sure that you are abiding by what you've laid down as a goal, as a system, as an outcome or an objective that you've asked other people to accomplish. Make sure you're living by it as well. What a powerful way to end this series of interviews with Dr. Mindy Hall. Hope you've enjoyed them. I certainly have enjoyed talking to her. Her book, again, is called Leading with Intention. Every moment is a choice. Take those moments, take those choices, and make the most out of them today. You can read the book, get lots of practical advice from Dr. Mindy Hall. We have a link to the book on our website. Just go to onesimplething.online.com. On the right-hand side of the page, you will see a banner ad for Dr. Mindy Hall. That will take you straight to Amazon where you can pick up a copy of her book. Also, check out the show notes for today, episode 364, and you'll find a link to her podcast and her website and other things there as well. It's all available for you at onesimplething.online.com. Hey, again, thank you to all of you who have taken time to drop me a note. If you'd like to let me know how you feel about the show, you could do so through email. My email address is dave@onesimplething.online.com. That's a number 1 in there, dave@onesimplething.online.com. Got a nice note from Marion from Aloha Photography Studios in Honolulu. She said, I just want to let you know how much I enjoy listening to your show. I started about a month or so ago, and I enjoy it so much. The episodes are short enough to listen when I drive. You always have some interesting guests and things to say, and it's really helping me in my life. Thank you so much. Well, Marion, thank you for so much. Cannot even begin to tell you how much it means to me to hear that from people like you. So thank you for writing me. If you want to write, drop us a note. It's dave@onesimplething.online.com, again with the number 1. Also, if you'd like to leave us a rating and review on iTunes, simple way to do that, just go to the website, onesimplething.online.com. On the top menu, click on Support the Show, and you'll find links to do all that good stuff. Again, thank you. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you next time here on the One Simple Thing podcast.